Hello. I am happy, excited, and I don't know what, a little nervous to be with you here today talking about tip number 25. I'm T, your joyful parent guide and harmonizer, and if you've been following along, I'm doing one tip every day from Aletha Solter's book, Raising Drug-Free Kids. So yesterday's tip was play with your child. Number 24, play with your child. And today's tip is number 25. Don't punish your child. Now, it would be so hypocritical for me to sit here and say that I didn't punish my kids when they were 3 to 6 years old, or 6 to 9, or even 9 to 12. So I'm not going to say that. Before I share some of the pearls from this tip in the book, I do want to say that I have for almost 2 decades now been a follower of Jane Nelsen's work with positive discipline. And when I was getting my Montessori teacher training, I read some of her books. That's when I started, it is the better part of 2 decades for sure. And I want to say that it never landed for me that part of positive discipline was no punishment. Those words, no punishment, I don't recall having been used together. But what I do remember now, and what this is really bringing back for me, this tip is bringing back for me, is Jane Nelsen did say something that was like a wow, and she's been saying it for decades, and that is, where did we get the idea that in order to help kids do better, that we had to make them feel worse? And that, I just think that's profound. That really hits me. It did when I first heard her say that. However, I didn't internalize that as no punishment. And there's a few reasons, and I want to talk about those reasons today. Those reasons are that for me, the punishment, the tradition, honestly, the tradition of punishment goes back generations and generations and generations. Okay, I haven't heard all of the stories, but I have heard stories from when my mom was little and from when my dad was little. And they had, I'm sure they heard stories from their parents about when they were little. And so they brought those forward, and there's something in our minds. It's like, this is the right way. It is just what is. I don't want to make them feel bad, but this is just how it has to be done. And that's what I brought forward. So if you can resonate with that, please know that you're by no means alone. You have to go no further than the grocery store, right? And we see punishment happening all around us, and we've done it. So, okay, I just want to say that. And so, I'm not going to pretend that I embraced this from when my kids were toddlers, okay? But I am going to share with you some pearls from the book and some of the benefit of the wisdom that I have cultivated. My kids are now almost 17 and 18. And this is what I do. This is what I do in the world. So I want to share something. So our kids are misbehaving for a number of reasons, but if we kind of collect the reasons into little buckets, there's 3 big buckets of reasons why our kids are misbehaving. One, and this is in the chapter for 3 to 6, okay? So take it in that context. One is they have a legitimate need, like they're hungry and we kept them out too long doing errands, so they're crying and misbehaving because they're hungry. And I remember being a mother with this situation, and I also remember being a child with this situation. I remember being a teenager with this situation and out for errands with my mother and sister, and my mom's like, oh, we're just going to go to one more store, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. I need to eat something. And I was able to speak it. Our 3 to 6 year olds are not able to speak it oftentimes. So that's one bucket, is legitimate need, right? Okay, another bucket is they didn't know something that is now causing them to be in a lot of trouble. Like, what 3-year-old knows that if they hit a window with a baseball that it's going to break? They're not born knowing that, okay? And so they didn't know. Okay, so they might be crying now because it made a loud noise, or they might be crying because they tried to pick up a piece of glass and they're bleeding, or they might be crying because we're yelling at them. First bucket, legitimate need, hunger as the example. Second bucket, they didn't know, broken window as the example. Third bucket, now this is the bucket that extends. This is a giant, this bucket grows as we get older. Okay, this is a bucket called, I'm sure I can come up with a more eloquent name for it, but this is a bucket called something else is going on. And something else is going on takes into account all of the meanings that we give things, all of the, as we grow older, all the like wounds that we have, the scars that we have, things that we have pushed down into our unconscious, subconscious or unconscious that we're not even consciously aware of anymore. So things like that can cause unwanted responses, unwanted behaviors, things like that. So, but for like a 3 to 6 year old, they're not going to have all of the history that we have and all of the, sort of meanings and wounds that we have. So it might be something like, I'm afraid a monster is going to come out and get me from the closet. I'm afraid of the dark. So it might be things that they're afraid of, their fears, something that upsets them. They may be able to articulate it like a monster coming out of the closet, or they may not be able to articulate it like, what's happening now? Now mommy and daddy are in separate houses and I don't know what's going on, and maybe I did something wrong, and they wouldn't know how to articulate it. So there can be something else is going on. That's why that bucket is named that. Okay, so these are the reasons, right, for misbehavior. So that's fine, but let's get back to the tip, which is don't punish your child. That can sound, and believe me, I know, I can feel, I remember where I was. That would have sounded so ridiculous to me years ago. Don't punish your child. What, I'm gonna let them run around naked in the neighborhood? No, that's not what she's talking about here. Permissiveness, no, it's an ability to set limits without the need for punishment. And it is not something that most of us grew up with. It is not something that we see often modeled in the world, and it's something that takes more effort, more commitment, more willingness and self-awareness. And so I just want to say it's possible. It's totally possible. And I was kind of a latecomer to the party. Once I sort of read the tea leaves out, I realized, and I have boys, right? And they're both way bigger and taller than I am. And I saw the tea leaves before that happened, and I was like, this is not going to go well if I'm relying on these kinds of tools. They're going to outgrow them really fast. So what am I going to do? And that is another, I'm going to flip that for you. If you have a 3 to 6 year old child, one of the reasons that we punish when they're that young, if we start thinking about it, as opposed to, well, it's just what I know, it's just what my parents did. One of the other reasons, if we start thinking about it, is it actually works. It actually works in the short term to get them to stop doing whatever they're doing. Often, not with every kid, not at every age, 3 to 6, but oftentimes it does. And so we get that taste of it works, and then we start clamping down harder when they start growing or when they start resisting, because we had that taste of it works. And so then it becomes this fight. And we also, another thing, and this is a great piece from Positive Discipline. I know I'm going a little longer with this, but this is a really important topic. Another reason why we punish, especially at this age, is because we can, right? I talked about my kids. Both of my kids are well over 6 foot now, right? But when they're 3 to 6, they're so small. We look like giants to them. We look like the Jolly Green Giant. So we can intimidate, whether it's physically, verbally, emotionally. We're bigger, so we can. And I know that that is not anybody's intention. It's a combination of these things. It is what is. It's been passed down for generations. It's unconscious. It feels like what has to happen. It works, and we can. But there are alternatives. So I'm going to leave, well, you know what? I feel like it would be disingenuous to just leave you with that. I want to let you know that I've created it's rooted in Positive Discipline. There are I don't know, dozens and dozens, at least 52, because there's a whole Positive Discipline card deck of tools. But I've done a lot of work, and I have pulled together the 7 tools, which are the tools on the Relational Parent Tool Belt. And I've never taken them separately out of a group program, but I'm doing that now because I just know that it will serve. So that is something that I'm putting the final touches on, and when the touches are on it, I will bring it in here, and I will share it in case that's something. Now that's a paid offering, but in case that's something that you're interested in, it's really actually the only 7 tools that you really need, and it's self-paced, and I'm happy to interact in the Facebook group around any questions at all about those 7 tools or implementing them. They are the very, very best. Those are the tools that I continue to use. I don't use all 7 of them right now. You don't need to, but those are the 7 tools that I go to. So with that, I will leave you to enjoy the rest of your day, and wishing you a beautiful rest of your day. Bye for now.